everybody. My name is Lauren Morrison. I am Women's Caucus for Art past president. I will be past president for the next week. And then I'm going off as past president. And we have Sandra Davis, who is president-elect here on board, and she will be our incoming president come February 25th. So we all welcome you to this session at CAA. I'm going to start with a little slideshow, and we will get rolling. Give me a moment. All right, can you see my screen? Passion Unleashed Art and Activism Projects? No. Okay.
It still says it's loading.
Okay. Sandra, do you know if you could share it?
All right, let me try.
I have terrible internet where I'm staying right now.
Let me get it open.
Okay.
And then we'll all right, hold on, it's not working for me. Let me get back here to Zoom.
So everyone, and just to let you know what's going on, we put together a slideshow to get us rolling to show some activism projects that WCA members are working on. My name is Lauren Morrison, past president of WCA. I have terrible internet where I'm staying. I'm on vacation, so Sandra's working as my backup. Thank you, Sandra.
Are we there?
There. Can everyone else see this? Passion Unleashed? Yeah. Very good. All right. So I just want to start out with a quick.
Just tell me when you want me to go to the next slide.
Yeah, I'll say next slide when I want to do
Okay.
that. How about that? Okay. So the reason why we chose this subject is because WCA is very much about activism. And in the past, I've been on the board for a long time. We talked about perhaps, doing a focused activist project with national, but we came to realize over many conversations that as many members as we have as many different kinds of interests and different kinds of activism. And so Sandra and I were having a little discussion thinking, well, let's see what members are doing. We can, I think, support our members by supporting their projects and hearing about all the different things that our members are doing. And then, people can kind of pick and choose what they want to be involved in as well. So that's how this got started. Next slide. So WCA is over 50 years old. We celebrated our anniversary in 2022. We were born out of protest against gender discrimination, and WCA is a UN-affiliated NGO, champions local, national, and global art activism. So art activism at all levels. Next slide. Activism is also in our mission statement, which is to create community through art, education, and social activism. So it is a centerpiece of our mission. Next slide. So a couple of years ago, 2022, we did a survey of our members, and we always thought that our members were interested in activism, but a surprising statistic came back. 84% of WCA members who responded to the survey emphasized the importance of activism in their life, and 79% regularly integrate activism into their art practice either some or all of the time. So that is a very high percentage of our members who are very much involved in activism and in different projects. So that is why we are going to get started. Now, we're going to skip forward to Lisa. Can you say your last name again, Lisa Stevanovia?
Stavanaugh.
Stabina. Okay, back up one slide, Sandra. She has to go first because she might have to go um, take care of a family member. So you are on, Lisa. Why don't you talk a little bit about your project?
Okay.
And you can say next slide. We have a couple pictures of your work. So
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Lisa Stavanaugh, artist, activist, and much more. I wear many hats. I'm here today to talk about what if, what is. What if represents the world if we had listened about climate change many, many years ago. What is our world today. What if, what is started as a small solo show. As I researched every habitat on our planet and all of the inhabitants of each habitat, from the tiniest organism to the largest mammal, I realized I could not tell the climate change story sufficiently with just a small solo show. The honeybee story itself is a whole show. Because people learn and retain information through their senses or a combo of their five senses, I decided to tell the story of climate change and to make people understand and feel climate change. My solo show has turned into a climate change experience. What if the world, what if world will include beautiful large sculptures, paintings, next slide, sorry. What if world will include beautiful large sculptures, paintings, smells of a perfect world? There will be a performance of a beautiful seed bursting forth through the ground, growing into a beautiful green plant with large fruits and flowers. Honeybees will be working on a beautiful hive in the corner, surrounded by flowers. Ballerinas will represent beautiful weather. Even storms are gentle. In What Is World, there will be small sculptures, paintings, videos, news articles, smells of our world. There will be a performance of an ugly small plant growing slowly, bearing ugly fruit, if any at all, and small half flowers. You can change the slide. The hive will hang in the corner in disarray, no bees or flowers present. Contemporary dancers will represent the violence and unpredictability of our weather. There will be a fashion show, but not a fashion show of clothes created from trash, even though those are fun. It will be a fashion show showing how to style real clothes from real closets, and that it is okay to repeat outfits over and over, and it's okay to have a clothes rotation. The details will also be climate change friendly. The art catalog will be all digital. The cards by paintings, performances, etc. will hopefully be digital screens that people can read in-depth information. You can change to the last slide. The reception will be biodegradable cups, plates, forks, etc., where when thrown in the landfill, flowers and plants will grow. Wine and champagne bottles will be given to artists to use. I want people to see, hear, smell, touch, and taste climate change. The artists are not the show. Climate change is the show. The artists and performers are the messengers. I want people leaving this experience with their hearts beating faster and their minds racing about how they can make a difference. I don't know exactly how as far as funding and locations yet. I just know this will happen. Thank you for allowing me to come here today and share my climate change event with you.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Could you put your contact information in the chat so people can contact you with questions? And my other question was, do you have a website where you have some of this up?
I have a website. This is not up yet, but I will be putting pieces of it up to share.
So why don't you share that in the chat and people can kind of keep an eye open for it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sandra, why don't we move backwards to Yana. So Yana, you are up.
Okay, great. Well, so hello everyone. My name is Jana Schnitzler. And thank you so much for inviting me to talk about the project here in this round. So basically, I think like the text here, it says already pretty much what it describes the whole project in its full extent. So I think I would just like to kind of like goes through the slides like right from the beginning, because that gives the general idea about the whole project. And then like also the next one. And then from here, so you have like the visual overview of it. So if we could just go back to the second slide, that would be fantastic. Thank you. So basically, I started the project about 4 years ago. And I put a call out online asking women what they wish to let go of. Basically, the way it started was in my own meditation practice, the theme was always like at that time, it was always like letting go, letting go. So I started wondering what other people have, or what other people wish to let go of. And especially because I'm very much, my art practice is very much like women centered. I wondered what women especially wanted to let go of. So I put the call out online, and these pieces that you see, so the skirt consists of all these pieces that women took to write down what they wanted to let go of and mailed it to me. So and these pieces, they really came from all over the world. It was really incredible. So and then in an initial 7-week run at the Shasharma Gallery in the Garment District, I created this room-filling skirt. And ever since, it's been really an incredible journey. Like the skirt has toured and keeps on touring. And the most amazing and surprising aspect of it has been so far how much the skirt, whenever viewers walk into the room, their response to it. And because it is really a very visceral experience to read these stories, because these are real stories of real people. They're very intimate. So, and it's really an amazing experience to realize how people can really be deeply touched by an artwork. And along those same lines, what also happened in the past and keeps on happening is that the conversations that rise out of the presence of the skirt. So you would have really like meaningful conversations with strangers, people you never met before. And that's really, I mean, it's really breathtaking. It's beautiful. There is something very, very much connecting and to the project. It creates a sense of community, and I had really no idea that something like that could happen. So yeah, it's really been incredible to realize and to feel the impact that the project has been having so far. And so with each exhibition, the project keeps on growing because I keep participation open. Um, so women and female identifying folks still have the opportunity to create their own piece and to be part of it. So the skirt is still growing, and eventually I will wear the skirt. I will sort of like symbolically gather the skirt closely in around me in a performance, and then I will publicly destroy the skirt as a symbol of release and letting go. So basically, the concept really is that it's one woman who um, sort of like represents all of us, and in that role she is creating, she's wearing, and she's destroying the skirt, symbolizing the ritual of release for us all. So yeah, and that really is I mean, like, there are so many layers to the project. Yeah, so this is like from this is from the performance run on Times Square that was last October, where I had this like passage way space that was somewhat protected, and yet at the same time it was extremely open. So and people, yeah, walking by, stopping, looking at the skirt while I was doing a stitching performance at the same time. Yeah, and it really is, and coming back to this like emotional aspect of the project, to me, like, and that really is also like a beginning, a point gewesen that I was really interested in, to make the personal political, because when you see all these contributions, there is like a lot of individuality, yes, and yet at the same time there's also a lot of um, the sense of a shared experience. So many pieces, many fabric pieces resonate with each other, and it creates a sense of community, solidarity, and a sense of interconnectedness. And it really is regardless of where you are in the world, where you grew up, in what culture you grew up, what circumstances you're in. We're all facing similar struggles, and that is incredibly empowering. So yeah, I feel like it really is a project of women empowerment.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. So we're going to go on to Lisa Brown. And if we have time towards the end too, we'll circle back around if people have questions. Yana, please put kind of the information, your contact information, website, etc. in the chat too. So people can circle around back to that. All right, Lisa, you are up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Brown. I'm from the Washington, D.C. chapter. I'm currently a first-year community arts student at MICA, and I am starting a call and response project. Letters of Love, uh, I want to say, starts from myself of having um, run-ins with the law as a young student, a young person in our community, and also having lots of people in my community face life-changing decisions with their family and their community, being in prison. As many know, a lot of women that are in prison are mothers. Um, a lot of the minorities are in there for very low crime. They're not in there for high crime. But yet they're serving very long years, depending on the state that they're in. And I'm asking for the community to be able to write love letters of inviting them back into the community and part of the community, a sense of belonging, back into society, because we all know reform and rehab of keeping people for long periods of time is not very in a healthy manner for everyone else. It also ostracizes women back from the communities that they come from or that they're at. And so this is a call and response. Next slide, please. I had quite a bit of people when I put this call out. A lot of people were very happy and thought very deeply about people that are missing from their community, a neighbor, a nurse, a friend, a cousin, a sister, um, a partner, not just of service. And that great deal of people that we're missing are incarcerated. They're still part of our community and they make a big deal. Where I'm at currently in Maryland, almost 30% of the brown and Black women population is incarcerated. And I think that's a great deal for a whole state to say that they're missing people. Well, they're incarcerated. These people consider themselves women, especially women of color, are missing from us and missing from our daily lives. And I wanted to also have a part of capacity of empathy and grace. I think that's something that a lot of us are not practicing on a wide scale. I think it's reflecting in some of the activities that are going on today in many different countries of having empathy, patience, and grace. And I think this could be a start, just to write a letter, create a piece of artwork, put it on a postcard. Please don't put your name. Just imagine if this person was your neighbor and you get to say hi to every morning, or someone you get to see in your religious practice or your spiritual practice that you get to smile at when you walk by. So the sense of community, sense that we're all human is the first place. And the sense that as we move around the world, some of the issues need to be addressed are emotional issues. They're mental health issues that are leading to physical harm. And then physical harm is turning into wars, unfortunately. And I think that we're moving backwards instead of forwards. So I think while we're here, we can be very productive into honoring grace, patience, better social structure, and start with our emotional well-being. And I think this is a project that I'm going to work on long term. That's going to be incorporated in my theses here from MICA. As a community arts major, it is very big of me to ask the public to draw something nice, say something kind, and then mail it to me. So on the next slide, I have my contact information here for MICA. This is what I have so far. I am currently been given 315 cards from the Therma Perry Foundation in Louisiana. These are handwritten cards. Some can be emailed in, some can be mailed in. I ask for any form of art, just long as it's on a piece of paper that's no longer than 8.5 by 11. It could be on a postcard, it could be on a business card. And as you see here, it's just displayed here at Micah currently. So some of the students can interact and ask questions and self-reflect. All cards by the end of this month, which is the deadline. Next slide, please. Will be packaged up and sent to Miss Conway, which is the late Eddie Conway here in Baltimore, who was a Black Panther who served 44 years in jail for a crime he did not commit. Him and his wife have served the Baltimore, Maryland, all the way to California prison, of helping people get out of jail, bail, learn different skill sets to be able to be an active member in their community again. So I've partnershiped up with other people who are more than willing to build a relationship between me and that prison to be able to hand these cards off to them in a token that they can read something that is beautiful, that is engaging, that shows empathy and intelligence of our great community. I know that we can be. So here's my information for Micah, for the community arts program, which we call MAFACA. And also this is my email if anyone has any questions or any comments, anything, even if you would like to just email me something. I appreciate that too. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lisa. Could you also put your email and contact information in the chat too?
Yes.
Great. All right, thank you. One quick question. You said the deadline is the 29th, but this might be a long-term project. So are you going to be then continuing with another prison or continuing to collect if people don't make this first deadline?
Yes, I'm going to next semester. Hopefully we get my clearance for prison here. That's not too far away, and build an art program with them. Yeah, because I don't graduate until May 2025. I have quite a bit of time to build relationships with different foundations or organizations out of the prisons in Maryland, and hopefully even be able to link up with other foundations who already have that relationship and to work on my thesis work that way. I would like it to be almost a public call versus my own practice art call, to be able to have my thesis work around and research.
All right.
So yeah, I will probably do another call out for something that's more virtual, and then less physical.
Okay, well, definitely keep us posted.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go on to you, Sandra.
All right, can everybody hear me? All right, let me go back one. Okay, so my project, Pull Up a Chair 2.0, is actually the second iteration of the Pull Up a Chair project. The project originated in right before 2020, prior to the pandemic, but was sort of fueled and catapulted as we were all sort of locked down. Being very much isolated, being sent home from work, not sure when we were going to get back. Everything started being virtual. And all of a sudden, we were in this huge social unrest. And so it struck me as we were sort of coming out of the pandemic that we don't even know how to talk to each other anymore. And so the phrase pull up a chair, which is in most communities is an invitation to sit down and chat. Oh, come on and pull up a chair. Let's talk about it. And so, as I mentioned, the first iteration was we had 20 artists create chairs with some sort of theme that was special to them, whether it was heritage or if they had a political commentary that they wanted to share, or it could have just been something that they were passionate about in terms of their art practice. What ended up happening was we did an art talk amongst the artists that participated, and what came out of the conversation was how cathartic the process was. And For one example, there was a young lady, not from the US, who tried to hide her heritage as a high schooler. And so this chair gave her an opportunity to celebrate where she was from. And so if you walked up to her and to her chair, you could talk about where she was from, the pride of her heritage, what was important in terms of symbolism. But the more the conversation continued, the more people talk about it felt like therapy. It felt like, oh, I could finally get something off my chest. And so fast forward, I applied for a grant, got money, and I was able to invite 15 more artists.
Oh, no, you froze.
Chairs here. So this is two examples of the finished pieces. The black and white one, which is actually a dark mahogany chair. And the young lady couldn't figure out what she wanted to say from a mental health wellness sort of mindset. And she started to go through some things in her art room, things in her home, and she came across some old journals of things that she was saying to herself, things that she had written to herself about self-esteem. You're good enough. You're pretty enough. You're going to make a great mom. You're going to be an awesome wife. And so she thought, what better way in terms of application is to take these messages that she had to herself and place them on the chair. So when the viewer comes into the space where the chairs will be shown, you get to touch, you get to feel, you get to sit down, you get to read, and then you have this dialogue and conversation with her about her chair. The brightly colored chair is one of the ones that I've completed. And as a mixed media artist, I love working with stuff, and I save stuff and what can I use this stuff for? I'm also married to a person for the last 40 plus years who has lived with mental health issues. We've seen a little bit of the manic side. We've seen the depressive side. And so this particular chair is what I call my manic chair. If you were to Google brain scan of a person having a manic episode, these are the colors that show up on the scan. And it's very tactile. It's squishy and crinkly, and it makes noise if you sit on it, but you get to touch and feel and sort of experience what a person might be going through a manic stage. Specifically done in the bright, crazy yellow color and the other multicolors to kind of elicit what that brain activity can look and feel like. As I'm listening to the other ladies, and I'm sure we'll continue to hear this, how important the dialogue is, how important it is to include community, because even though the experience may be similar, it's different. And so how these mental health conversations are happening right now are all different. They may have the same title or name to it in terms of what might have been diagnosed, but each of our experiences are different. And how is the person who's the support person experience the issue to a loved one that may be going through it? And that's really the onus behind the Pull Up a Chair 2.0 project.
All right, thank you. So when is this going to get rolling?
So artists are finishing up now. We do the last photo shoot coming up on Monday, and exhibition date is April 17th through like the 28th. The current space was only able to give it to us for 2 weeks, but we'll have a panel discussion with 2 mental health professionals and then 2 people who have experienced a mental health episode or issue or living with it. Just to, again, to create that dialogue. And the other important thing about the project was most of the time art is untouchable. You get to look at it, it's pretty, you view it, but very specifically the goal in mind for this was I want you to be able to sit down I want you to be able to touch and feel and experience what the artist was trying to convey.
Thank you for clarifying that, because that was a question. Are they functional? Are you able to invited to sit in them? So
Yep, exactly.
great.
All right, who's next?
I think I am next, and then we're going to open it to the group.
Okay.
So I have collaborated with New Hampshire WCA artist Gail Smuda, who actually formed the New Hampshire chapter over 30 years ago, I think. Her and I have been collaborating for over 15, maybe 20 years. And so we have come up with an idea called the Cup of Comfort Project, which it seems like mental health seems to be a common thread throughout these projects. We all have collectively kind of lost our minds since COVID, or maybe it's just come to the forefront since then. And so we are fiber artists primarily, and we often talk about how the act of stitching we find very calming and soothing. So we conceived of this Cup of Comfort project, and do the next slide. I can explain to you the picture, where we have put these little kits together. They're 6x6 little pieces of fabric with just a cup drawn on them. They have all the supplies you need to do your own embroidery project. They cost $10, $5 of which we will donate to a local mental health organization, nonprofit. And so that may change depending on where we're doing the project. So we call Stitch a Cup of Comfort. And the whole idea behind it is to kind of look within yourself and think of what gives you comfort. What tools do you have in your toolbox to help soothe you when you're feeling a lot of anxiety or stress, or you're feeling very mentally fragile. And by doing this, it's opened up a lot of conversations with people. We've been sitting around. We did a stitch-in where people just talked about what they wanted to make on their cup and get started. And what we did was you can go to the next slide. We invite people to create their own cup of comfort and then take a picture of it and send it to us, and we put it on an Instagram page, and do a hashtag called Cup of Comfort Project. And so we're hoping over time to build like have a lot of people participate and send us their images, and just kind of keep building this Instagram page. Next slide. So we have a local movie theater where we can do little art shows. And so this was kind of our beta project. We gave out all these kits for free to a whole bunch of women in the New Hampshire Art Pod, and asked them to get us their pieces back within a certain amount of time, and we displayed them at Red River Theater. And it was really fun to see all of the different ways it was interpreted. And we also sold the kits at the theater. So here's the interesting thing about the project. We sold 40 kits. Only one person has gotten back to us from those 40 with their completed project, but that's okay. We hope that people will take it and enjoy it. And we priced it as low as we could, so that we're not making any money off of it. It simply covers our materials, and because we wanted to make it very accessible. We are expanding this project to the New Hampshire chapter. Gail and I have a 2-woman show at a Newport Arts Center, Library Arts Center, which is on the western side of the state, this coming fall, and they have a small gallery within the gallery. And so we're going to be doing a bigger Cup of Comfort project where people can create work using the cup image as their point of inspiration, but it can be a painting, it can be a sculpture, it can be a drawing, it can be printmaking, whatever they like, just using the cup as their starting point, and then creating a piece about their own, how they comfort themselves. So we're looking forward to that show coming up in the fall. We'll be selling kits at the same time. So we hope over time to keep growing this project and really just starting conversations about how we can help ourselves and how we can help each other, you know, soothe our anxiety and our stress. And that is it in a little nutshell. So next slide. So it's your turn. If you want to stop the share, Sandra, we can open up the conversation to the rest of the group. In the advertisement for this session, we said, please, if you have a activism project that you'd like to share, we invite you to come and share it with us. So is there anyone else here who has been working on a project they'd like to share? If so, just raise your hand and unmute yourself and jump in. No. All right. Then we're going to have a little conversation among the 5 of us about our activism projects and talk a little bit more about that. So one of the questions I wanted to ask everyone, maybe starting with Yana, what was the catalyst that started your project?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that in my own meditation practice, which is basically my mental health care program, right? The theme that keeps coming up, or it kept coming up throughout the projects, right? That kind of it was really that theme of letting go and the curiosity really to find out more about other women around the world, what would they let go? I mean, what issues were they facing? And I really and I had the idea basically before COVID hit, and then it was the lockdown, and then that really came as a topic to the forefront because it was a time of reflection. It was a time of that forced isolation. All of a sudden we're confronted with ourselves, and that I feel really distilled the project idea further out. So it really kind of amplified what the original idea has been. So I feel that is really and it that's also an interesting aspect about the project. It's kind of it has been teaching me about timing. It was a lot about timing, that things when you feel like you want to do it and you should do it, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the right time to do it. And throughout the project, that kind of theme kept coming back, because whenever I had planned on doing things turned out differently. So which at the end, interestingly, really helped the project, but it was against what I felt I should be doing. So it was a huge lesson within within the project. So yeah, so I think that the idea and this coming up of this idea, and then the way the project unfolded, was very much embedded and a child of its time, really. That's what it felt like.
All right. Well, thank you. How about you, Lisa Brown?
So it started as a small assignment as a call and response, and we had about a month, and I really was like, I'm not from Baltimore, and I was like, well, if I do a call and response, how many people would actually respond to it? And I really had to think personally for myself first, and it was like, well, I think starting with mental health would be something a lot of people right now are speaking, are being vocal about. I just think a lot of structures higher up are not listening, unfortunately. I think a lot of the people we voted for are not listening. I think people are in power positions are not listening. Um, and the great deal of that, a lot of people are not listening, are adults. I think the children are almost screaming the loudest um, that they are not happy and don't have the vocabulary or the words to communicate that over. And that looks like societal issues. I think here in America, it's common that when we don't listen to people, we just ostracize them. We place them in homes, we place them in hospitals, we place them anywhere else besides where we live at and their own community. I think we just push them off to something else and out of sight, out of mind. We don't have to deal with them. And I really was like, you know what? I'm going to bring an issue here that I don't think a lot of people are going to want to talk about. I think it's going to be tough. I'm at a school of art in the middle of Baltimore. I am a minority at this school. I am a very, very small minority at this school as a Black woman here. And me talking about jail issues, especially that pertains to women, is something that people will love to turn around from. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear me say women and in jail, mothers, sisters, people who are actively doing things, people have jobs, people have lives. And I had a few people push back and was like, well, why do I care about someone in jail? That's their fault. And I went, wow, 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 you're not here alone. We don't run this place on our by ourselves. We don't run our home by ourselves. We don't go to work by ourselves. We don't vote for a president by ourselves. This is a whole group of people. And I think by doing this, I kind of challenged the majority. A lot of people in my school did not participate in my exhibition. Um, a lot of higher ups did also not participate in my exhibit. Um, yeah, it was it's a challenge. It was a real challenge for me to propose this here and to think people were going to participate actually. And the more and more I brought it up, and the more and more they saw it on advertisement or through different organizations, I think people started to come to a point where they themselves were trying not to think about a woman's mental health issue that could lead them into a long-term issue being put into prison. And I think that the more and more I kind of softly talked to them about it, the more and more things started to add up. It really started to get to that.
So now that you've kind of launched this, would you say people are beginning to like pay more attention, being a little more interested? Are the conversations happening?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The installation has been up for about a month in my school. I have about almost 3 walls of
Mhm.
letters. And I think and it's at a spot where a lot of people actually function in the grad building. And a lot of people have stopped and asked me, can I meet up with you later at the wall? Which
Great.
was almost intimate. It was just me and them, or me and maybe 4 other people. And it's been interesting to see the reaction of people saying, I had a family member there in prison, and it's almost that shame that comes over them to not want to talk about it. They had a family member who went to jail and was never able to gather their feet again back into society. It was hard for them to get a job, maintain a job, it was difficult. And so instead of them being able to talk about it, now they are. I think it has been a moment of especially the students of color. I think we make up a little less than 20% of the grad department was students. And it's been almost a relief of them to come downstairs and talk about it, and get offer me tips of how could I display better or publicate or get into other foundations. How can I market more into showing people of something very simple they can do? Put a stamp on a postcard and just mail it to someone you don't know. How to just be kind. And I think a lot of people have now, more than I have ever seen, gaining interest, but more people on the outside have more interest, more organizations, more people who are already involved in something had a positive feedback from them and wanted to know how could they help. And that was very warm and welcoming to me. I really appreciated that. And I think we have someone, Harris, in the chat that had wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, so I was gonna after move on to her briefly. Is it Charisse?
Yes, it's Charisse.
Hey, Charisse.
Yeah, so I don't have a project to share, but I did just want to come on and just like thank everyone for sharing all of their projects, because for me personally, when I read the title of this lecture and it said activism, I was, I've always been intimidated by the idea of activism in my practice. But I think one of the reasons I came is to kind of, get some more information. And I feel like after you guys all shared, it was, I don't know, it was just super approachable, and it just gave me the notion that, it doesn't have to be like screaming, it doesn't have to be loud for me to engage with the community or even add activism to my art practice. So yeah, I mean, I may not have like a solid idea yet, but things are cooking. And yeah, thanks guys, because you've helped me kind of get
Great.
on that path.
So, Charisse, are you from a WCA chapter?
I am not actually, so I'm a new CCA member. This is my first year as a member, and my first year coming to the conference. And I actually got a grant to come to the conference. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to participate more.
I love it. So I have a book to recommend called Craftivism, which is really centered around quiet activism. It doesn't necessarily have to be craft. I don't know what kind of artist you are, but it is really quite the eye-opening book. We did that in book club discussion in WCA. I think it was last year. But I think a lot of this is what we're doing. It's quiet activism, but it's really making a difference, because people like to have these side conversations, as we've all discussed. So I forget the name of the author, but just Google Craftivism and it should pop up.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll check it out. And Lisa, I'm going to be emailing you. So thank you guys.
Excellent. Excellent.
Hey, Laura, I have a quick comment also. And, you had shared in one of the earlier slides that Women's Caucus was really sort of built out of wanting to respond to something and using our art as that tool. And I noticed, Lisa, Yana, we've all sort of talked about how the community outreach that we've done, how important that community touching has been. It didn't matter what type of artist you were, or maybe you weren't an artist at all. I know one of my chair participants from last year, she never really considered herself an artist, but more of a photographer. But she has been in the DC area for a really, really long time. And we know there's no representation in DC. So her particular chair is a white rocking chair with those red stars and stripes. It is as subtle as you want it to be, unless you know that that's the DC flag. But when you sit in that rocking chair, you get an earful when she gets talking about this. And so, again, it's so approachable. Have a seat. Let's talk, right? Like, that's not intimidating at all. And so you can do these very quiet, subtle things to get the message out. So, Charisse, thank you for your comment as well, because it's the little things and these little baby steps that we're doing with our art practice that make a huge impact.
Right. And also, if you think about the conversations, that is like a performance aspect that's going into all of the projects as well. Um, so I think that's really interesting. Having stitch-ins, having conversations in front of the wall, sitting down and pulling up a chair, um, doing a stitching project for the skirt. And there are so many other WCA members working on so many other projects. I've decided that for our Pulse newsletter, I'd like to start highlighting those for people. So you can always, on our website, put in information to be posted on our social media. Any member can do that about any projects they're working on, exhibitions, what have you, or if it's something affiliated with your chapter, you can send it into the Pulse newsletter. We'd love to have chapters working on projects as well. And as I said before, there are as many projects as there are members and many different points of view. So we have like 2 more minutes left. Does anyone have any questions before we sign off? Just pop in, no? All right.
I have one more comment.
Go ahead.
I'm really struck by the similar aspects of our projects. It really is about it. It's really it really hit me, you know, and it seems like that is us women in our time. And it's about community, it's about embodiment, because I consider really in what I do, I consider embodiment a feminist practice. It's really, it is, and mental health, of course, is closely associated with that. So it is community, it is embodiment / mental health, it is dialogue, and that seems to have run like a red thread throughout like all the projects, like even like what like also like I think Lisa was her name, with her climate change project. It's all about like sensing, feeling, touching. So it is that embodiment aspect which I feel like is so responsible for our current mental health issues. So I just needed to get that off my chest, because I thought like it was really a fascinating like a fascinating aspect.
Well, thank you. I think that's a perfect way to end the whole session. Thank you all for participating and for joining us. And we will continue the conversation in our newsletter. I will start highlighting people's projects. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Round of applause.